Good afternoon, good Monday afternoon. Welcome to Voice of the Valley, and I am Cathy Wilcox, your host for this day. And this is going to be a very, very special show. I've been trying to get these people on my show since I started in November. It's going to be dedicated to acting, directing, screenwriting, casting. So if you have any inclination or any interest or any curiosity about those topics, we have local experts, Vince Cosentino and Christine Autrand-Mitchell. I don't know why I have a problem saying Autrand, but they're both here. First, I want to give a shout out to Valley Animal Center. They were on the show last week, and we did not get the photos of the puppy or the dog and the cat that we were going to promo on the show. But if you have interest in adopting an animal, which I hope you do, please call the Valley Animal Center. It's a no-kill shelter. We strongly support no-kill shelters around here. Speak with Rosie, and the number there is 233-8690. And they would love to hear from you for volunteers or for donations, for anything along those lines. Thank you, Kylie, for getting that up. Okay. Now, I apologize.
They're not saying that. You have to say it.
Oh, they're not. Okay. So it's valleyanimal.org is the website that you can go to, or just give them a call. And I will be talking to Rosie and saying, we didn't get the pictures, so please send us some more pictures for next week. Okay. In watching the Golden Globes, it's award season. I'm going to take 2 minutes because this has just been raking on my nerves since Saturday when I watched one of my favorite shows, Graham Norton, and the diva, all divas, Madonna was on there. She graced them with her presence only because she has a movie out and only because she's promoting herself, which is fine. I'd have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is that she looks like a man, number one. Okay, I do have a problem with that. She is so full of herself that it's so disgusting to me. And I think that when you are so full of yourself that you refer to others below you as the little people who could help her, because one of the questions posed to her, and she very smugly replied, "Yes, I know little people." I just wanted to throw something on the television because, honey, you were not there all the time. You had to scrape and sleep with God knows who to get where you are, and you're so over, okay? So, and then when you won that award, and I was praying to God that you wouldn't win the award for that song for your movie, which I would like to see, but I probably won't, because I just don't want to contribute to the ego machine that you have turned into be. Thank God for Lady Gaga, who is so much more talented than you ever were or ever hoped to be. Okay, I'm over that. All right, thank you. So I want to now smile and welcome Vince Cosentino, and I'm sure that he wasn't expecting any of that, but thank you so much, Vince, for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me.
You are a genuine local talent, and you have done phenomenal things, and yes, you have. And don't be modest around here. Don't go Madonna on me, but don't. I
didn't have to sleep with anybody to get to where I am either. So that's
okay. Well, we'll just put that rumor to
rest. A
rest.
little bit boring.
No, that's all right. That's all
true.
right. But and I totally believe that. I met you through a mutual friend, Carol Love.
Yes.
Who is in a movie.
Yes.
And that movie is
Beaten Path.
Beaten Path. Okay. I promoted this a few weeks ago after I went to my first FFA, which for me growing up in the Valley means Future Farmers of America, but for our purposes it means Fresno Filmmakers Alliance. Okay, and we'll talk more about that.
Very good.
What I would like to know, and I know a lot of people have tuned in to see you and Christine, because there's a lot of information, you can really help people. Just hopefully you can. Tell us about what gave you the bug for filmmaking. How did you get started? Kind of what is your path to this point?
Well, it probably started when I was young and when camcorders were becoming all the rage with
the big
families.
Ones.
Yeah,
yeah,
it
yeah.
was. It started out with 8mm cameras. The parents take the home movies with that, and then when the video age hit, my parents bought a video camera, and they were nice enough to let me run around with it and make films and use my brother and use my dad as my muses and come up with these fun little stories. And it was just fun. Then when I graduated high school and I went to Fresno City College, I was studying to be an electrical engineer. And the more and more I got into the classes, I saw that things were going computer. So I was going to be doing, AutoCAD or computer-aided drafting instead of being there with the pencil and my T-square and all that and having fun. And I'd always had a love of film, and I just said, well, I don't want to sit in front of a computer. I want to be out there doing something. And I took a cinema course at Fresno City College, and I also took a filmmaking course there and changed my major. So I was on the long haul at Fresno City College. I finished up there with my AA and transferred to Cal State Fullerton and ended up getting my bachelor's in communications with TV and film production as my major concentration. And as things were going, as I was going through film school there, we were working with film. So we were working 16 millimeter film and editing in these nice edit bays and with the moviolas and all that. Then came the Avid system, which was allowing people to edit in a computer. So the whole reason that I didn't become an engineer was the computer. So I wanted to avoid that, and I ended up getting sucked to where I spend hours upon hours in front of a computer anyway, editing.
So that's how it's done now. It's all on computer. Is that what you're saying?
You're
talking way over my head already.
Well, it's not.
And we just started.
Editing now is something, especially for independent filmmakers. We all do it pretty much in nonlinear format. People are still shooting 35 millimeter film. But most people, you'll see Walter Murch, who for me is one of the top people in film, and he's a big, I guess, what would you say? He promotes the use of like Final Cut Pro and things like that. He does discussions all over the world.
I hope all of you know what he's talking about because Walter
Murch.
Walter Murch, he's a filmmaker?
He's a filmmaker. He's known more for I believe he coined the phrase sound designer. Okay. Somebody that works on a film that when you hear everything that's happening there, they decided, well, we need a whoosh here or we need footsteps here.
Which they give awards for.
Yeah, so he got his start working with Francis Coppola and all of those guys up in San Francisco. There's a great documentary called Fog City Mavericks that discusses how these filmmakers weren't all that excited about making a go of it in Hollywood. Okay. So they came up to San Francisco, and there were about 5 to 10 of them. John Milius, George Lucas, Francis Coppola, Walter Murch, Caleb DeChandel. All those guys got together and decided to make films, and they worked as a group. It's like, okay, first film we're going to do George's film. We're going to do THX 1138, and then after that we're going to move on and we're going to do Francis's film. But Francis was able to make The Godfather and some other films that were able to bring
successful.
Yeah, they were able to bring money to this group that allowed them to make all these personal.
Have you had a chance to meet any of these people?
I met Walter Murch in North Beach. My wife and I were out at a cafe having cannoli or something, and I saw him walk by, and I was dumbfounded. I got up from my seat, and he was crossing the street, and I yelled, "Walter!" I couldn't think of anything, but I got nothing. But I got his attention, and I ran across the street and introduced myself and shook his hand. And he asked, "Do I know you?" And I said, "No, but I'm just a huge admirer of you." And I go back to talk to my wife, and she's all, "Who's that?" And I told her, and she goes, "Who's that?"
Kind of like me. Yeah.
So there are plenty of people behind the scenes that, they aren't the Madonnas. They aren't out there grabbing the limelight, but the work that they do is invaluable.
It's interesting to me because the minute you mentioned that, it's like you guys get starstruck too. But like if I saw Johnny Depp or something, I'd be screaming, and doing that. But with you, it's directors and the creative types behind the camera. So that's interesting. That's good to know. I think that's really charming. That's really cool. Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about The Beaten Path, because I know this is. I can't wait to see this. It's already won several awards, correct?
Right.
Tell us about this.
The awards or the nominations or being accepted, I sent the screenplay out to different festivals. I actually sent it to 3 festivals. And
Which ones?
I sent it to the Yosemite International Film Festival, the Beverly Hills International Film Festival, and the Sacramento International Film Festival, and it was accepted to all 3.
Fantastic.
And actually was given a commendation at the Yosemite Film Festival. And the reason behind that was this film has been taking forever to complete.
Really?
But I wanted,
usually things in show business go so quick.
Yeah. But I wanted an opportunity to kind of spread the word about the project when it was getting closer to being completed. So I figured when I found out, wow, they have a section in film festivals for screenplays. And this was something that I didn't know about, and it was something that's come about over the past several years. And I said, well, let's get it sent out to some that are close enough to where I can attend. Mm-hmm. Because it's not about going to see your film when your film's in a film festival. You're not going to most likely have anybody read your screenplay, but you have the opportunity to go and network and meet other filmmakers, mm-hmm. See what your peers are doing, not necessarily local, but see what other filmmakers are doing elsewhere. And so it gave me an opportunity to go up to the Tenaya Lodge in Yosemite, which is fantastic because it's
beautiful.
Just in our backyard here. Gave me an opportunity to go down to Beverly Hills. And since I was in Southern California when I went to college, I had friends down there, and it gave me an opportunity to meet with friends. And then Sacramento, again, 3 hours away. It was not very far.
Right.
And I made a fantastic friend there. I went to a screenwriting workshop and met my new BFF, Richard Broadhurst there.
That means.
Who's a playwright, screenwriter, actor, and it was exciting. We just kind of met.
Excuse me. Sorry.
And it was kind of interesting how we met.
No, does he live in Sacramento?
He's in Sacramento.
Okay.
Sacramento by way of New York, by way of Kansas.
Interesting. Okay.
And we met. We were outside the museum where they were having the festival. And my wife and I had taken the train up there, so we didn't have transportation. We were just kind of hoofing it back and forth. And they were having an after party at some bar in downtown Sacramento. And I had mentioned it, and he overheard and offered us a ride, and it's been history ever since.
Fantastic. It's so nice to work in the Valley, where everyone is so willing to help other people. It's not all about me. If I get ahead, then maybe I'll help you. No, let's all help each other.
Right.
Let's all network together and find avenues where we can help each other. I've been very fortunate. I'll talk to Christine about this, about working here in the Valley. What kind of evolution have you seen, like Hollywood coming into the Valley? And then we'll definitely, I want to know about the movie, but just from your perspective, do you think this is a real growth area for future projects?
Definitely. I think Fresno is a fantastic location, first of all, for local filmmakers. You've got everything right here for you. You sleep in your own bed, and you go out onto the set, and it's wonderful. But it's a great place for people to come from out of town. You've got the mountains an hour and a half away. You've got all these different looks. You've got the urban. You've got the nature. You've got the ocean, not very far away. So it's a great central location, and so many different looks that you can find for your film, all in one place,
right?
Within an hour or two. So.
And much easier to get around than the LA area, and much less headache.
Yeah, and it's fantastic because even if you have a cast and crew that you've got from LA or San Francisco, if you are missing that crew, we have so many talented
Oh my
people
gosh,
here in
no
the valley
kidding.
that can step right in and get things done for you.
Isn't that incredible? Vince, we've just scratched the surface. We're already up for our first commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about The Beaten Path, the movie. We have a trailer to watch, but I want to hear a little bit about the history of the movie, the evolution of it. Then we'll get into the trailer, and we'll talk further with Vince about where is this movie going. So we'll be right back. Thank you. Welcome back. We are still with Vince Cosentino, and I want to remind the viewers that you can ask questions in real time. When you're looking at your screen at home or wherever you happen to be, there's a button to the, well, I guess it would be to the right, exactly, and you can ask questions. So please feel free. We'd love to get your questions, and I know Vince would love to answer any questions that are out there. But right now, waiting for those questions, we are going to talk about The Beaten Path. How did this evolve? Who, a little bit about the storyline, the writing of it, how you got it, what's the process?
Okay. Well, for me, it was going to a film festival. I went down to Hollywood to support a friend from college who had a film in a festival and seeing other people's works. And it's one of those situations where you see what other people are doing, and some of it's good, some of it's not so good. And I didn't feel that I had enough that I had done that gave me a voice to be critical of anybody else's work. So I came back and I was telling my wife, I said, there was some good stuff there, but there was a lot of not so good stuff. And so she basically said, well, why don't you sit down and write something yourself? It's just one of those things. And I said, okay. So I sat down and started doing research, and this project was getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Did you have any kind of a seed of an idea, or did you just, what did you research?
Well, I started researching a totally different project, and then I realized in the writing of it, the main purpose of writing was to go out and make it. Mm-hmm. It was to produce this idea. And what I was writing was a period piece, and it was going to be, this epic, deer hunter, Heaven's Gate.
Oh my Lord!
Situation. Well, hopefully more successful than Heaven's Gate. But
yeah,
but
I wasn't going to say anything, but
it was just becoming this gigantic project, and I was realizing this isn't something that's feasible right now. Mm-hmm. Not at least not for a first time mm-hmm. out the gate. So I scrapped that, and just was trying to find inspiration somewhere. And my father-in-law had just gotten back from a 2-week backpacking trip with his brother. And they went and did this backpacking trip on the John Muir Trail. And I was thinking, that's pretty interesting to just kind of leave everything behind mm-hmm. and go on this trip with a sibling. I've got a brother, and I've never been backpacking. I like to camp, but I've never been backpacking, and so I figured that's kind of a cool idea. So I started doing that, and it became kind of a relationship story between the two brothers, and then it became an adventure. And what worked for me was putting together my story arc. So finding my beginning, middle, and end. Mm-hmm. my introduction, my rising action, all of that. And then from there, I went on to outline, and then I wrote a treatment, and then from there, I just sat down.
Okay. You're using words that we don't all know. Treatment would be?
Treatment was just kind of like, for me, it's a 10 to 12 page short story of the entire movie.
Like an overview, like bullet points, or?
Well, yeah, I went from like my bullet points, my outline to the treatment. So it just became kind of a short story. There's very little dialogue unless there were very important things that I wanted the characters to say, something that I wanted to remember that they were going to say.
On the same page.
So wrote that 11 to 12 pages, and then sat down and I use Final Draft for writing my screenplays. There's Celtics. Celtics is a free program that you can download on the internet and use that does all the same things, that formats your screenplay for you, so that
You're kidding,
it's
really?
just a matter of hitting tab or hitting a button that puts you in the right spot.
What is it called?
Well, it's called Celtics. I believe it's
Celtics.
CELTX, right?
Celtics, okay.
And it's free to use.
Free.
And so then it was just a matter of taking my notes, my outline, and my treatment, and then breathing life into this story and kind of making the pictures in my head. So I'd make the pictures in my head, and I'd make the characters talk, and then next thing you know, I had everything finished. And it's short. My screenplay is only 82 pages long, which is very short. If you go based off of that, you figure each page is anywhere from 45 seconds to a minute of screen time, depending on what's happening. And because it's an outdoor film, an adventure, there are moments where it takes a little bit longer because it's you want to establish a setting,
sure.
Or let's show people where these guys are, or let's show how
Develop a
insignificant they really are in the grand scheme of things. So you have a wide shot where they're just two little dots out there, and then you come in for your close-ups and your mediums and all and things like that. But I just watched a documentary last night about screenwriting and how screenwriters are just kind of pushed off to the side. They're kind of the peons of the film industry. And there was a line that was used in one of the films where the guy said, well, the screenplay's just a blueprint. And if you're the screenwriter, you don't want to hear that because you've breathed life.
Yeah, this is
into
your baby. That's like
these
saying your baby's ugly.
Right. But for me, as not only the writer, the producer, and the director, it really was just a blueprint. I needed something to finish quickly to move on to the next step of filmmaking. I just wanted a story, and I wanted the basic idea of these characters. The idea of this film was to shoot it with the least amount of actors, so it's a very small cast, extremely small crew, meaning that 80% of the film is shot up in Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Parks. And it was basically me and two actors. So I didn't even have a sound guy or anybody because we'd hike, a half mile or a mile in or find a place great just right off the road. But
can I stop you right there?
Sure.
Because believe it or not, we have just a few minutes left. I want to get to this trailer because
Okay.
I have been dying to see this trailer. And then we will, have some closing comments and where it's going to be shown.
Sure.
So Kelly, can we see that trailer, please? Because and maybe you can talk us through what's the setup for the trailer?
it's just little bits and pieces of the film to kind of give you an idea of what to expect.
Okay.
When you go see it.
All right. And when will the film be coming out, do you think?
I am shooting for this spring.
Spring. Now that's like 3 months. So
Yeah.
Anywhere in there.
Yes.
From March, April, May, or
I will push it for as long as I have to. I've taken
You want it
4
to be
years
perfect.
already, so I mean that's
and 4 years of your life, I really admire people who can stick with something and be interested in something that long for one. I'm not like that. I'm like my ADD is way out of control. I could never. That's why I like film rather than stage because you can do it over again. With stage, it's just out there. Is that up?
I'm waiting for you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was just going to... I'll shut up. Let's watch this. Wow. How does it feel? I mean, I get tingles, and I have nothing to do with this film, but I mean, I'm so excited for you, and I see your name, a film by Vince Cosentino. How does that make you feel?
It'll make me feel much more excited when it's actually finished. And much more relieved, and I believe actors and everybody that have been involved with it will be much more happy when they see it. And I think that they'll be pleased with the outcome. It's taken so long.
It must be just, I mean, because you want everything to be perfect. I mean, you put so much time into it,
Yeah, it's one of those situations where you kind of have to make peace with it, and it is what it is, and it's going to be what it's going to be. It's not going to be perfect. There are going to be problems with it. And, I mean, look at Ridley Scott, who made Blade Runner. You think, oh, what a fantastic film. Yeah. And how many different director's cuts can there possibly be of one film?
One movie, yeah.
And, it just goes to show that you're never really going to have the masterpiece that you want. For me, the closest that's out there right now is The Tree of Life, Terrence Malick's Tree of Life.
And we didn't get a chance to talk about that. I told you 30 minutes just flies by. Did I not say that? And there's so many other things I want to talk to you about. I want to thank Vince so much. The Beaten Path, will it be in Edwards, or will it be shown at Tower, or where will this actually be shown?
Whoever's gracious enough to let me four-wall it, or
my home is open to you at any time, but I'm sure we can do better than that. Okay?
Great.
Thank you so much. The Beaten Path, Fresno Filmmakers Alliance. Find it on Facebook. If you're interested, you can catch Vince there and message him. And then our next guest is also available for you. Thank you so much. Good luck with your film. I can't wait to see it. Thanks, Vince.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah. Welcome back to Voice of the Valley. My next guest is Christine Autrand-Mitchell. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm just thrilled to have you and Vince on today, because I just think that you are a plethora of talent and information and have so much to talk about that we can get into right now.
Yeah, a lot of what Vince was saying, I could relate to really, really well.
Oh, I'm sure you could. I'm sure you could. Christine heads In Tandem Productions, herein forthwith known as EP Productions, because that's just easier.
It's just easier to say. Yeah.
Okay, it's hard to know where to start with you. You are a multi-threat, as Vince is, screenwriter, producer, director, casting. You've actually gotten me work, which I greatly appreciate, and you've cast me, and I really appreciate that. And there was pay involved, which is a double bonus. Ding, ding, ding. There's a lot of work here, and it's good for people who are just starting out, the free, doing things for free. But anyway, let's get started. And like I asked Vince, I'm always interested in how you got the bug. I know how I got the bug, but how did you get the bug, and what was your path that kind of led you here? Briefly.
Yeah, very briefly.
Yeah.
It was kind of roundabout, because when I was little, I grew up in a place that had only one television station.
Where was that?
I grew up in Spain, in the Canary Islands, on an island, and so, for example, when I was growing up, when I was little, we had power. We didn't have power for 3 to 4 hours a day, for example, and we only had one station. Anyway, so. So when we wanted to watch certain programs, we'd have to go to friends that would have power. In their village, they would have power.
In their village?
In their village or urbanization, they would have power during that time, because we had our own generator. And so we couldn't afford to run it, 24 hours a day for the entire urbanization. So we would, during siesta, we'd shut it down. But I remember thinking, when they kiss on TV, they don't really kiss each other. They must be doing this. They must be like kissing each other's chins or something, and I would always try to figure out how things were done.
Interesting.
And I was always writing. We were always doing little productions, and every summer I would go. My family's from Austria, so we would go spend our summers in Austria, and we had these friends who were kind of celebrities there. They were these twins, these little girls that were twins, and we would do shows, and we would bring all these folks in and do these little shows. So it's kind of always been there. I've never. I've never not done it. I think, yeah. Except for a few years after I studied film in college, but I actually got a degree in linguistics instead, and then went out into the real world, into the whole corporate thing, and then I became a consultant for small businesses for a really long time. I kind of still have my hand in that a bit, and then when we moved here, I had the opportunity. I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to stay home, which drove me nuts. Because I can't clean toilets more than once a day. That it was just like it was
once
too
a
much.
day. Wow,
it was crazy. I'm not a housewife. I'm not a very good housewife. So and mother. I'm a good mother, but I'm not a very good
I was going to say you're a mom.
Wife. Yeah, the cleaning bit. So I needed to do something.
You're a creative soul.
Yeah,
you have
so
to
I
create.
needed to do something, right? Yes. So that's how In Tandem started, because I really wanted to get back into that.
Okay.
I missed it a lot. So.
All right, so you have your fingers in all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Do you have a project right now that you're working on? I know you've had your screenwriter, and you have scripts out there that are winning awards, and tell us about that.
There's one right now. The latest one is doing really, really well. It's doing much better than the one that I had out last year.
Well, tell us about the good one. I mean, the better one that's doing better, and then.
Yeah, it's funny because you think that they want something commercial. And so I sent something that was somewhat commercial last year, and it didn't do as well as the one this year, which is a period piece.
interesting. I just heard that recently.
Yeah.
So when you say commercial, again, let's talk to the masses.
Let's differentiate a little bit. I still believe in independent film.
Okay.
Hollywood believes it's dead, and I've spoken to a lot of people in LA who keep saying, independent film is dead, and I just don't see that, because for the amount of independent films that I watch and foreign films that I watch and all of that, I can't imagine that is really dead. It's just not.
It seems like all the indies are getting the awards and the
exactly. So every time I run across somebody that tells me in LA oh, independent film is dead, I already know that this is something that I don't want to associate with.
Yeah.
Because obviously we're not on the same page.
Right.
So there are people like Ted Hope, who has produced more than 30 films. I don't even know how many, and he's just this amazing producer that has done films like Savages. One of my favorite films was Tamara Jenkins wrote it. So I mean, definitely there's he's struggling just as hard as anybody else, but independent film is definitely out there. So I don't write the Hollywood blockbuster. I'm not interested in that. I want to write a story that I enjoy, and because I have to write it, I have to spend a lot of time with it. And sometimes you spend years and years with a particular story until it's finally done. You feel it's done. So I have to have something that I enjoy.
Exactly.
And I think if you enjoy it, you can definitely exude that to the people you're trying to sell it to.
Absolutely. So the story that is doing well, okay, like how did you get it submitted? For people who are just starting out and they have a little story and they want to turn it into a script or a screenplay or something, kind of what are the real basic steps to help our aspiring writers get somewhere?
Well, the first thing is that you need to write it, and you just need to get it down on paper. That's the most important thing. I coach writers. I work with writers.
Oh, and
I do coverage and things like that. So the main thing that you need to do is just write it. Don't worry about if it's too long, if it's too short, if it's not in the right order, if your characters aren't all alive yet. Don't worry about any of that. Just get it down.
Okay.
There's editing. That's what editing is for.
Right.
Just get your idea down and then work with it afterwards. Once you feel it's finished, what I did with this one, because it was much too long, and although I work with writers and I can easily say, oh, this needs to go and this needs to go, I can't do that to myself very well.
It's hard, isn't it? I can imagine.
Vince had mentioned Richard Broadhurst, and he helped me. He was the most amazing cheerleader ever. He was just fantastic.
Well, I think he better be on my show then.
Yes, I think he should.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, so mostly it was the cheerleading bit. You can do this, you can do this. Look at this scene.
Encouraging, motivating.
Yeah, that really, really helps a lot. But in an educated way, not just saying you can do it, but saying you can do it. Look at this scene. What about this? Have you thought about this? Blah, blah, blah. And kind of going through that. And then it became a mathematical equation for me on that particular project. I have this many pages, I need to get down to this. So for every blank pages, I need to get rid of one. And I did that twice. So I got it from over 200 pages down to 118.
Okay.
So that's what got submitted.
Some cutting.
Yeah, and that hurts because, you grow really attached to scenes that Vince was going in. And you don't want to get rid of them, but you do. And I am very verbose, and the descriptions, for film, you don't need that. It's a visual medium. So you just basically tell them this is what the scene is about, this is what we're looking at, and that's it. So once you've, really tightened it, then there are lots of websites where you can start looking for contests.
Can you throw out a couple?
I'm trying to think. One of the bigger ones is Without a Box, which filmmakers use as well, because you can upload your material as well as your screenplay, and so you either film or screenplay, and enter it in contests right through their website. It's free. For basic service. So there are a lot of things like that out there that are, for basic service, they're free. If you want a little bit more, you're going to have to pay for it. But and I'm trying to think. I can't remember. There's another website that I just ran across, and I can't remember what it is now.
I'll think of it.
Yeah. So and then you just submit it. It costs you. This is the part that does cost, because when you enter a contest, it does cost.
We will pick up that train of thought when we get back. Believe it or not, it's time for our first commercial break. So we're going to talk further about getting scripts submitted, the awards that you've won, things that you're working on. We'll talk about all of that. So we'll be right back with Christine. Thanks. We're still with Christine, and I'm just going through my notes, and I'm trying to decide. We need to finish up. I want to finish up with your script. The things that you win when you win an award for a screenplay or something, and is it going to be made into a movie? What's the next step?
Well, the process then, the last step would be if you, I mean, I've gotten either on the short lists or the long list or the finals in several of the contests. And I just won the first prize for the first time. So I'm still waiting on a bunch of them.
But what is the first prize?
Oh, okay. Well, it depends on the contest.
Okay.
So in this particular case, these people were really wonderful. It's called The Writer's Place.
Okay.
I was co-producer for Finding Hope Now with Skinmead. It was his film. And I believe he also won the same contest. So it was kind of neat having worked with Skin. And then we both won one of the contests. So it was kind of cool.
That's really cool.
So so these folks offered up either a cash prize or software. You could go for either one. So it's not a lot. I went for the software because mine's kind of getting old and I wanted new software. And then you get some magazines. You get inktip.com, which is a place that you can upload your screenplay to, your film to. Also, it's kind of like without a box. So one of the prizes is that I can upload my script. Then they also email it and snail mail it to tons of production companies, producers, directors, and agents.
That is so cool.
Yeah, so my goal is to get an agent.
So you don't have an agent yet?
I don't have an agent.
So
no.
Now, you get a plaque or like an
maybe,
award or
maybe, I don't know.
But I mean,
don't even know.
winning, just saying,
Winning
this is what fun. I did. My baby won, and it is fun.
Well, I mean, just placing is a really fantastic feeling because some of these contests have thousands of entries, international
I can imagine.
Entries. So just being a finalist is a great honor.
Congratulations!
That you got through. Yeah,
that is so amazing. It truly, I am always impressed with talent, and obviously you have a lot of talent, and kudos and keep up the good work because I'm sure we'll be seeing your work.
I hope so.
Yes, very much so. Okay. Now, like I said, there's so many things to talk to Christine about. I am curious about. Well, you have a show on Nickelodeon. Finding Hope Now. Is that the show you're talking about?
No, that was a feature that we did, but one of the actors, Avan Joya, was in the film, and he is now on Nickelodeon.
Oh, okay. Very nice. Yeah. And then other films that you've been associated with, The Date?
Yeah, that was a short that I did. I'm in the same boat as
Vince?
Vince, yeah. It's, your own projects end up being the last ones that get made.
Okay.
Because you're working on everybody else's project, and you kind of give more to other people than you do to yourself. So it's with an editor right now.
How do you keep things straight? Your life must be. Do you have a personal assistant?
No.
You need one. I'm just saying, unless you are just phenomenally organized and superior.
I used to be a business consultant, so I have to be somewhat management consultant.
Obviously, you have things down, but man, my mind is just spinning with how do you keep these things.
It's trying to keep busy because I have my own business, and you need to, casting in the Valley is not. This is not where the rent money comes from.
True. Yeah.
There's not a lot of casting locally, and I'm local, so I want to work locally. So whatever I can do locally, I do.
Well, let's talk about that local, the local work for actors such as myself. And you are, like sent from heaven to be an actual casting person. What's the difference for those who don't know between a casting director, an agent, a manager? I mean, there's all different kinds of things. So what's the difference?
Yeah, I've written lots of articles about this.
Okay, good.
There's a huge difference.
Okay.
Let's start with an agent because that's really the most popular one. A talent agent has to be licensed by the state. And they're the ones that they take a cut of your pay. Usually it's about 10% in LA right now. That's the average. They're the ones that sign you. You have a contract with them. They find you work.
Or they submit work. They
submit you for work. So they go out and find you work. That's their only job.
Okay.
They want to like you. They want you to be talented. They want you to have a great personality, because this is how they're going to, earn
make
money.
Their money.
You make
right.
you make 90%. They take 10. So it's very important that you as an actor are successful in what you do, because that's how they earn their money. Mm-hmm. Then a manager is like is a business manager, basically. It's like your mom.
Okay.
Are you wearing clean underwear? Are you together? You're not drinking too much? Are you? You know what? You're not very good at auditions. Yeah, you're not very good at auditions. So we really need to do some work on auditions. So we'll send you to this teacher.
Okay.
So they they're like your mom.
Okay.
And they also take a cut. So my advice is usually get an agent and don't worry about a manager unless your life is so busy that you really, really need
Yeah, I long to know that feeling.
But but the managers oftentimes get you work as well, because it's easier to approach a manager than it is an agent. So sometimes you do get work through the manager. And then a casting director is somebody that works for the production company, for instance. So we work for the company that is looking for the talent.
Okay.
So whether it's an ad agency or a production company, or you're working for the producer or the director or whatever, we go out and we find the people. In Fresno, it's a little different.
How does it work in Fresno?
Basically, I have a huge database.
Mm-hmm.
I have about almost 500 people internationally, because I've worked on other projects and I get submittals from those. Mm-hmm. So my database is actually ginormous.
I'll be happy to travel internationally. I'm just saying. I'm just putting myself out there. Okay, all right. You can go ahead.
But yeah, so basically, you're in my database and somebody calls me up and says, hey, this is what I need. Sometimes it's, strict demographic. Mm-hmm. I need a Hispanic woman, 25 to 35. I need a African-American male, 35 to 45. And then I look through my database and I see who I think would be best suited for that particular job. And then sometimes it goes to audition, and a lot of times it doesn't even get that far. It's just off the headshot. Yeah. So your headshot better be good.
Yeah.
That's really important. That's one thing I struggle with is if you want to be an actor, you really have to spend the money on at least getting a good headshot.
Very important.
Yeah.
Very, very important.
Make sure your resume is updated, that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I submit that. So whether I'm working for a film or working for television, it's the same. The process is basically the same.
This is something that I dream about. I'm just going to throw this out as fun. I'm sure you're familiar with the Progressive commercials and the girl that... Mm-hmm. Okay. How much would all of us want a gig like that?
That's a pretty nice gig.
National commercial after national commercial after national commercial. How much, just ballpark, how much do you think? I mean, do you think that's a residual commercial? Is it just like, because there are so many, how much money do you think that something like that would actually bring in to an actor?
I can't even venture to guess.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It depends, on the contract that's signed. It's impossible to say. It could have been it could be a flat. They could have residuals.
Okay, it could be a flat. Could be.
It just depends on Hopefully you had a good agent.
Yeah.
Hopefully she had a good agent that got her a good deal.
Even if she didn't, I mean, she still has to be making bank, because she's making all.
Yeah, but there are drawbacks to everything if you think about it.
What's the drawback?
Because one of the drawbacks would be now she's the progressive girl. If you stick her in a movie, the entire movie theater is going to go, look, it's
she's selling
girl.
Insurance.
Yeah. So it's the same thing when actors are successful with a national commercial and they get hired for another national commercial. So now they're selling Airwick and they're selling some cereal or something at the same time. I can't remember that gal. But all I can think about, and maybe it's just me because I do casting.
Right.
I mean, I'm quirky, so it could be. I'm just thinking, she usually sells air freshener. What is she doing selling milk or whatever? So I think there's a credibility factor.
Yes, well, again, I'll say I only aspire to know that problem. Okay, I wish that I have that problem. Okay, so anyway, I was just curious because we kind of joke about, if that's residual and she's getting a check every time that it's shown. I mean, it just boggles one's mind. But Yeah, anyway. We just have a couple of minutes left. Let's talk about FFA. Vince Cosentino mentioned FFA. You mentioned that you were kind of the founder of that. So let's talk about that for a minute.
At the time, when I first started in Tandem, Jaguar Bennett and I would run around and, who do we talk to locally? I'm really interested in film. Who do we talk to? So people that we met with a bunch of people, and Suzanne Burtz-Rosa and Ray Arthur were the ones that were really interested. And so we sort of formed an impromptu board, as it were, and we did conferences for a while. We did annual conferences for a couple of years, and it's kind of morphed. It's all volunteer time, and when I actually started working in film and actually making money off of it, my time decreased. So a lot of and Suzanne has, she's busy with her things as well, and so we're all kind of doing our own things, but we definitely still have a hand in it, and it's morphed more into just the mixers. Mm-hmm. But I want to get it back to the education again, because we were doing some great things with workshops for actors, screenwriters, things like that were very successful. Again,
such an outstanding, supportive community here. Mm-hmm. When you say, everybody can succeed. There's plenty of success for everybody. There's plenty to go around, folks. It doesn't have to be, I'll help you. We have an amazing talent, not just actors, obviously, but filmmakers. In all senses. We have fantastic editors, camera operators, just everything. Everything. We have full crews here. If we wanted to do something, we definitely have access to equipment and to folks that are capable of handling it. Is there anyone that handles costumes or there's some things that we are kind of lacking. I know that Carol Love has a huge... She has I was just... God, that would be such a blessing. She's selling it. Yes, she is. So. And it would be such... Oh, my gosh. To have a central costuming Central Valley where you or whoever, Vince, could go and say, these are the costumes that we need. At least start there. I told her she should definitely rent them out, but it's again finding the place. For so long and I'm still trying to help Carol, and it's just one of those things that God willing, there'll be an answer to that. Yeah, I think as more and more as we get a little bit bigger, we've had an incredible influx of filmmakers. Yeah, people are really starting to come out and doing films. More things in the valley. Yeah, and as that grows, the infrastructure gets built, and that's really what leads to more education and more opportunities for other folks too. Well, I think, believe it or not, we are out of time. But I want to thank you, Christine, so much. I could have talked to you for at least another hour about all these other things. Christine Autrand-Mitchell, EP Productions, or www.intandemproductions.com. Intandemprod.com. I'm sorry, intandemprod.com. You can find her there. She's on Facebook under Christine. Christine Autrand-Mitchell, yeah. And she's fantastic. She's wonderful to work with. She's a pleasure and obviously incredibly talented. So thank you so much for spending some time with us. Thank you. It was fun. And thank you, Vince Cosentino. Beaten Path, which will be out this spring, and I'll keep you posted on that. So thanks for joining us. See you next week.